What's going on, guys? UFC Fight Night Matheus Nicolau. My mic is very far away from my face. UFC Fight Night Matheus Nicolau versus Alex Perez. Yeah, I said that. Nicolau versus Perez is happening this weekend, so I'm just going to go through the entire card and give my picks and predictions. I'm not going to spend too much time on these prelims. I will on a couple of fights, but not on most of them, because it's just kind of like But let's just start off. Uh, Maheshate versus Gabriel Benitez. I'm going with Maheshate. I think Gabriel Benitez has always been the guy to kind of just like prove if someone's in the UFC is just not what they is just. He's always been like the kind of like, oh, you're just not UFC level. And Maheshate, he has 2 losses in the UFC. Who are his 2 losses actually? Because I know he's riding back-to-back losses. All right, Rafa Garcia and Vyacheslav Borshev. He wasn't doing terrible in the Borshev fight. I thought he was doing pretty decent. He was landing decent shots. Borshev is just genuinely a fucking incredible striker, so it's not like a bad thing to just completely lose the striking battle to him. But I mean, he beat Steve Garcia, who since then has kind of gone on a tear, and he's one of the better unranked featherweights right now. So, and but Gabriel Benitez, he's getting beat by like Jim Miller. He's getting like slept by David Onama. Look at this. Getting knocked out by Billy Quarantillo. None of those last 3 losses have aged the best, because Onama just all power, but not really the greatest gas tank. Quarantillo got fucking smoked. Got rolled up like a joint and smoked by Yusuf Zalal. Jim Miller got fucking pieced the fuck up by Bobby Green. None of his losses are aging the best. I mean, Jim Miller's not a terrible loss, but it's just none of them are aging the best. So I think Maheshate, I'm going to pick him by round 1 knockout. He's got good power. He's not terrible, and I just see him getting it done. Also he's a lot younger, and I think with this he knows his career is on the line. So I think this is where he's really gonna step up and do what needs to be done. Liang Na versus Ivana Petrovic. Oh, Ivana Petrovic. Not even gonna waste time on that. Liang Na is just not all that. James Yontop versus Chris Padilla. His name's not Liontop, it's Yontop. That's 2 L's. L-L-O-N-T-O-P. Yontop. I'm picking James Yontop. I watched his Contender Series fight against Malik Lewis. Malik Lewis was, super athletic, strong, explosive individual, and James Yontop just broke him down. He was able to hurt him. He was able to find the opening. He was able to crack him in the first round. He was able to hurt him into the body in the second. And he was able to drop him in, I believe, the third or the second. I was kind of just watching his fight earlier, but he's a really skilled boxer, and Chris Padilla just hasn't fought the level of competition that a James Yontop would have fought, and I don't really see anything. I watched Chris Padilla's last fight. I just don't. He's just not as good. It's simple as that. He's just not as good as James Yontop. I think James Yontop is going to find the mark. I think he's going to, just piece him up for the entire fight. And I'm going to say either an early knockout or he's going to piece him up to a decision. He's either knocking him out early or he's piecing him up to a decision. But I don't see Chris Padilla winning. Plus, Chris Padilla is taking this on what? Fucking a week's notice? Chris Padilla is not getting this done. He's just not. Next up, Marnik Mann versus Ketlin Souza. I'm picking Ketlin Souza. I don't really care about this fight. Sorry, it's the truth. Sorry if you don't like it. It's the truth. I know you guys aren't going to watch it. Next up, Dontel Mays versus Caio Machado. I'm picking Caio Machado. I liked his fight against Mick Parkin. I thought he should have won his fight against Mick Parkin. I thought he was completely outlanding him. I thought he was outboxing him at range. He was getting out grappled. But I thought he was outboxing him. I thought he was beating him in the pocket. The only thing he was getting beaten really was the leg kicks. And Dontel Mays is just not that good. He's just not that good. I think Kyle Machado is going to get it done, and I think he's going to get a 29-28, maybe 30-27 decision. But I think he's going to completely outland Dontel Mays. Who knows? Maybe he knocks him out too. Next up, Austin Hubbard versus Michael Figlak. I'm picking Michael Figlak. It's so hard to trust these UFC reject tough winners because not a single one has won yet. Austin Hubbard lost. Or not Austin Hubbard. What's his name? Cody Gibson lost. Carlos Vera lost. Brad Katona's lost. Kurt Hollabaugh lost. And now it's Austin Hubbard. I can't trust Austin Hubbard to win. Alright, I'm picking Michael Figlak. I'm picking Michael Figlak decision. You cannot trust these tough winners. Next up, Victor Henry versus Ronnie Yaya. I'm picking Victor Henry. I think he's first off, he's a lot younger. But he's a much better striker. I think he's a lot more athletic. And Ronnie Yaya is just kind of like weaker, Sawyer, nowhere near as good as striking. I think Victor Henry by round 1 knockout. I'm just going to keep this one short and simple. Next up to the main card. Actually a pretty decent main card. I'm not going to front with you. It's not a terrible main card. Could be better, but it's not terrible. First off, we have Uros Medic versus Tim Means. I'm picking Uros Medic. Alright? I'm picking the Doctor to get it done. And I don't care what you say, the Doctor is a badass nickname. Tim Means, he's one of the better older fighters. At 40 years old, he was able to beat I think he knocked out Andre Fiallo, if I'm not mistaken. I know he dropped him, and I know he won the fight. I think it might have been a decision. But, he's one of the grittier fighters, but Uros Medic is just... The last person who beat him on the feet was Jalen Turner. And I know Jalen Turner hasn't been aging well. He's not terrible. He's really good on the feet. And that was at lightweight. And since then, Medic has moved up. And, he doesn't have to worry about being so, soy and weak at 155. And he could kind of just focus on being... He could just focus on being, being a lot stronger. And I know he got subbed in his fight against Miktebek Oralbai, but I watched that fight back, and he was piecing up Oralbai at the beginning. He had Oralbai hurt. He had Oralbai worrying. And I think he's gonna knock out Tim Means. I think he's a lot faster. I think he's a lot slicker. And I think the only reason he really got subbed by Oralbai is because Oralbai is a fucking... He was a fucking ancient fucking cave dweller that they found in a... Like, Dana White was like, oh, fuck, Uros Medic's opponent pulled out, fuck. Who's someone... Come on, we gotta find somebody. And he looked outside, and there was just a big block of ice with a person in it. And he was like, what the fuck is this? And so he let the block ice melt. And that was Miktebek Oralbai. Miktebek Oralbai came out of that block of ice. And he said, hey, do you want to fight? He saw him. He saw the athletic build. And Miktebek Oralbai, he had a hat on him. And so he saw him and he was like, hey, do you want to fight this guy? Miktebek Oralbai was like, who? And he put him in the octagon with him. That's just what happened. He has that primordial strength. Miktebek Oralbai is... I'm not even going to say he's a caveman, right? He's a primordial being. He was there for the first solar eclipse, dude. But I'm picking Uros. I run on a Miktebek Oralbai rant. That's funny because I'm going to pick Elvis Brender to beat him. But I'm going to go with Uros Medic to win by I'll say round 1 or 2 KO. That's what I'll say. Next up, we have Jonathan Pierce versus David Onama. I'm going with Jonathan Pierce. All right. I know Jonathan Pierce just lost to Joanderson Brito and he got subbed, but he was working him on the ground. Okay, he was beating Brito up on the ground. He was controlling him at will. He was able to take him down whenever he wanted. And David Onama, not the best takedown defense. You know, he's not the most cardio intensive dude. He doesn't have the best gas tank. He's kind of all power. He's really dangerous in that first round, but I don't see Jonathan Pierce keeping it on the feet long enough to let David Onama use that power that he has. And I see early on Jonathan Pierce backing Onama up to the cage, shooting in, and just getting him to the ground and just doing work for the entire round. And maybe getting a submission. Damn! Next up, we have Austin Lane, and I watched this fight. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. And I'm picking him. I'm picking him because he was a glory kickboxer. He's fought some really good glory kickboxers, and while he's lost, he's gone to competitive decisions with them. And Austin Lane is getting knocked out by Justin Tafa. And I know that's not a bad thing, but it's the fact that you're 6'6" with like a 8-inch reach advantage, and you're letting Tafa catch you. Why are you not just sitting at range? You're the taller, more athletic dude, and you're letting Tafa catch you at range. What? You're letting Tafa catch you because you're in close. Joanta Deniz, I'm going to presume, has a similar reach. He's not that much shorter. He's a much better kickboxer, and he's got some heavy hands. I'm going to pick Joanta Deniz to knock Austin Lane out in the first round. Glory kickboxer. This guy's a glory kickboxer. Next up, we have Ariana Lipski versus Karine Silva. I'm picking Karine Silva. Simple as. Next up, we have Ryan Spann versus Bogdan Guskov. I'm going with Bogdan Guskov. I don't see a lot of people going with Bogdan Guskov, but I'm going with Bogdan Guskov. And I think it's because Ryan Spann is just fucking stupid. I think Ryan Spann is genuinely fucking stupid. This man is gifted athletically, and for some reason, he's just like the most idiotic fighter. He's like Johnny Walker. The only difference between him and Johnny Walker is Johnny Walker has somewhat of a fight IQ. It's just he doesn't have a chin. Ryan Spann has somewhat of a chin, just has no fight IQ. And Bogdan Guskov, he has, but the thing is, it's risky because Bogdan Guskov has that hands down style where he'll try to catch you with a sneaky 1-2 or a sneaky uppercut that'll hurt you. But Ryan Spann has really heavy hands, and he has good power. So it's a risk for Bogdan Guskov, but if you're getting out leg kicked by Anthony Smith, and if you break Anthony Smith's orbital, and can't put him away, you're not beating his much more athletically gifted and goated friend Bogdan Guskov, his twin Bogdan Guskov. And people are gonna bring up Bogdan Guskov's loss. I'm saying his name a lot. It's kind of getting repetitive, but people are gonna bring up Guskov's loss to what's his face. Why am I forgetting his name? What's his face? Volkan Ozdemir. But first off, Ozdemir is a good striker. He's a good striker. And he dropped Guskov, which is how he got the submission. And Guskov took that fight on short notice. That's how Guskov got into the UFC, because he took the fight against Ozdemir on short notice. And it's not like he was doing terrible. He was landing decent shots on Ozdemir. I remember I was watching that fight back. And you know, I just think Guskov is smarter. I just think it's that Guskov has more of a brain than Ryan Spann. So I'm picking Guskov by round 1 or 2 TKO. Finally, for the main event, we have Matheus Nicolau versus Alex Perez. I'm picking Matheus Nicolau. You know, Alex Perez, he's been out for a while. He just got beat on the feet by Muhammad Makayev, and Nicolau, is just a lot better, I think. I think it's going to be boring. But for some reason, because I'm going to be honest, I doubt some of you know who these guys are. So some of that makes me believe that Matthias Nicolau will get it done. Or some of that makes me believe that since the less known they are, that and the fact that they're flyweights, then the more exciting the fight is going to be. and But I don't think it's going to be like that because Matthias Nicolau, he's a very calm and collected fighter. He's very calculated. He doesn't take a lot of risks. He moves well on the back foot. He'll chop away at your lead. He'll chop away at your legs. And if you try to come in, he'll counter you over the top with an overhand right. He'll go right. He'll slip your jab, go right over the top, and go back to moving. And if he drops you, he'll go on the ground and he'll try and hurt you. But eventually, if he doesn't get it really quick, then he'll give up and he'll work for position, and he'll just stay on top of you. He's too patient of a fighter. And I know Matthias Nicolau, he's a good fighter, and I know he's trying for a title shot. The guy's what, 7? I think he's 7-1 in the UFC, or I think he's 7-2 or 6-2 in the UFC. I just think Nicolau's better, and I think he's gonna do well. I think he's gonna move off the back foot. He's gonna start by chopping that lead leg. He's not gonna throw a lot. He doesn't throw a lot of jabs. Hardly throws leg kicks. He just waits for someone to come in. He counters over the top, and then he utilizes footwork to get out from along the fence and get back to the center of the octagon, where he'll then start to back up and move along the fence again. So I'm gonna pick Matthias Nicolau by either. So he's either getting an early knockout or he's getting a unanimous decision. But yeah, that's about it. These cards are getting fucking awful. I cannot wait for this summer. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.